Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Illuminating the Stories That Bind Us. In this podcast, psychotherapist Jennifer H. Carey helps guests illuminate a story that is binding them. In Season 3, Jennifer H. Carey continues interviews with writers, coaches, influencers, and anyone else aligned with a mission for us to illuminate the stories that bind us and transform the obstacles between us and our dreams through music, performing arts, and other creative and expressive measures. Together, let's listen and shine light so we can break through and step forward into our unlimited potential. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast and share a story that is binding you or share how you've transformed, you can send in a guest application at jenniferhcarey.com/podcasts.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Illuminating the Stories That Bind Us. Any of you out there who are health conscious or have concerns about your own physical health or a loved one's physical health, you'll want to listen to this episode. We have an author of a book that is spreading internationally in ways that very few books do. The book is called The Pulse Cure, and the author is Dr. Torkil Færø.
That's right. Sounds good. Yeah.
I think I have to have you say it in Norwegian at some point.
Yeah.
So imagine an intervention and system that could warn you ahead of time that your body is going into a state that could greatly impact your immune system, longevity, and susceptibility to disease or dis-ease, inflammation, and illness. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Torkil to you so we can dive into this important topic and learn how an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and how we can not only be preventative, but also get to the root of our vulnerabilities using his tools, which include wearable devices to track our heart rate variability, because numbers do not lie, and using that in combination with effective ways to reduce stress levels and have a more balanced immune system. So welcome, Torkil. Thank you for being on our podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. So nice to meet you and be able to talk about my passion for heart rate variability and how the heart actually can help us to regulate our stress levels, and that we now have technology that will help us that will keep track of it while we are busy living our lives. We have wearables like smartwatches and Whoop bands and Oura rings and so on that can help us.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel so excited. It feels like we're on the cutting edge of something that you've created that is taking technology and combining it with this amazing source we have within us, our hearts, which it's no surprise that they provide so much information. I mean, our hearts are everything, right? So,
Yeah, our hearts are kind of connected to everything that happens in our body and mind, and so it's the kind of the central station that receives nerve signals, and our heart rate and the way our heart beats is an important signal for our system, that we can see how is our system and physiology doing.
Yeah.
So it's a great pleasure for me as a doctor that there exists such a thing, because it shows the state of our autonomic nervous system, and we don't have any other sources of biomarkers to assess the nervous system in such a way. So, and that is also accessible to everyone. That is from a smartwatch that costs, probably $100 in the States, the cheapest ones. So it's accessible for everyone, and it's usually easy to understand and to make use of it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Accessible to everyone. And, I also, what is like sticking with me is how you said the heart is connected not only to our body, but our mind, right? That's, I think, an important thing that you will bring up throughout today as well.
Yeah.
So before we dive into some of the really good stuff, to the heart of the topic, Can you define heart rate variability for everybody so that they know what you're talking about?
Yeah, heart rate variability is not the heart rate in itself. It's not like the pulse rate of 60 or 70 or 80 or whatever that would be. Heart rate variability is the variation between successive heartbeats. So when we are in a relaxed state, when we breathe in and the lungs are filled with oxygen, the heart rate will go up a little bit to exploit that there's more oxygen in the blood. And then if you are relaxed, then when we breathe out, the heart will slow down just a little bit, measured in milliseconds, because then there's no so much oxygen in the lungs, and so it will beat a little bit slower. But if we are stressed, if we are in a mental stress or a physical stress or physiological stress or whatever reason, then the heart will beat very steadily, like a clock, an old-fashioned clock. And our wearables, the smartwatches, will pick up this very little difference and can give us an assessment of our state in any given moment, but also accumulated throughout the day and night, and will give us like the Garmin watches that I use will give you a body battery, so that you can see how much battery, how many physiological powers do you still have. Mm-hmm. And how much have you saved up during a restful night, and so on. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so it's really about, I mean, your heart lets you know through this, rate, and like you said, what's between, right, our breaths and the steadiness, but it's really about what state our body is in, like whether we're relaxed or whether we're stressed.
Yeah, and I've heard a podcast from you before where you're talking about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So what I refer to as the relaxed state would be the parasympathetic state. Mm-hmm. And from evolutionary times, we spend most of our time in that state, relaxing after having found the food or hunted or whatever. Our ancestors relaxed. Mm-hmm. And when we are in the stress state, that is the sympathetic mode, what we also can call the fight and flight and freeze mode, mm-hmm. that maybe a lot of people know. But it's not only the fight, flight, and freeze. It's not only the negative, fearful state, but it's also the fun state, the hunting state. So it's the same system that you will use if you're hunting for something that you want, mm-hmm. Also in a daily sense of it. It's something you want and you are activated and you're going for, that will also activate this system, even if it's really funny or very interesting. So even if you do very interesting things all the time, it will still be too much. We still need enough time in the resting state. And you are good at this, I know, with the breathing exercises and meditation and so on, that are the modern ways to get into this state. That our old hunter-gatherers, they could just be outside in nature and relax and after a hunt. But we have to actively find this state. So it's getting into this state in our modern world is an active decision, and sometimes a hard decision to make. Mm-hmm. It's often easier just to rush on. So that is my experience.
So true. So true. We're always in that hunting state. It sounds like maybe minus some of the fun and the excitement that maybe our ancestors acknowledged, or like you said, if you're not working in nature, you're usually probably at a desk or something and not getting those benefits that our ancestors did.
Yeah. And the problem with this is that if you are too much in this on state, the stressful state, our immune system will not work properly. Mm-hmm. So the immune system uses the recovery state, the state of the parasympathetic mode, to recover, to do its job. And now, if you are too much in the stressful state, we don't allow it to do this work, and we end up with inflamed bodies. that there's an inflammation in our bodies that will affect every organ in our body, and including the brain. Not the least, maybe the organ most affected by this inflammation is the brain. That will give us symptoms of fatigue and brain fog and lack of concentration and so on. But the problem is that the inflammation of the mind, actually. So even though this state of mind you can talk about it in words, but it's not necessarily words that will solve it. Often what will solve is a better physiological state, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The importance that we have the rest, the importance that we have the recovery, and like you're saying, that's not what's the default for us. We're all in a different state, and giving ourselves that permission and the consciousness to do it, because otherwise we are going to have all the symptoms that you just said, from brain fog to inflammation. And, you think about all the diseases and all the autoimmune stuff that's happening out there. It definitely related to this, right? We're not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually related to 9 out of the 10 deadliest diseases in the States. Actually, number 10 is road accidents. But other than that, it's related to cancer, to heart disease, to dementia and autoimmune diseases, strokes, and all of this, diabetes, hypertension. So it's connected to all this. So it's a very important measure to track for us doctors. So it's also a biomarker that tells you something about the risk of future disease. Usually all the biomarkers we are using as a doctors are biomarkers that happens after people have gotten sick. But this is a biomarker that you can use to avoid getting sick. Mm-hmm. So all these lifestyle diseases that amounts to like 80% of the diseases we are treating as doctors, they are avoidable. We wouldn't need to have them. If we were in a good state with a good fitness level and enough rest, enough sleep, and so on, a lot of those diseases will go away. We wouldn't need to contract them, actually.
Wow. I want to go so many places with that. But let me say, a very powerful moment in our pre-interview was when I shared with you my story around autoimmune, when I had inflammation. And I remember as soon as I finished it, you were like, yeah, what I'm trying to share with everyone would have warned you ahead of time. So where I got in terms of measuring, the autoimmune antibodies in my blood, I probably would have been able to prevent, or I would have been warned, as you said, a long time before that.
Yes, because usually in front of an outbreak of an autoimmune disease or cancer or a lot of other diseases, there's a very, very stressful state that you have been in for maybe months or maybe years of a lot of stress, and that these watches, these wearables would have warned you that you're now overtaxing yourself. Mm-hmm. You're not getting enough sleep. You're stressing too much. So at least maybe not in every case, but in a lot of cases, you would have been warned by these devices. So you wouldn't get into like a fatigue. There's at least in Norway now, there's a lot of people having fatigue states, mm-hmm. And maybe it's like that in the States as well. And then they would have been warned for a long time before they would kind of hit the wall, as we would say here in Norway. So.
Yeah, it's like another level of awareness, because maybe on some level I knew I was stressed, or maybe, hindsight's 2020, right? Now I can look back, mm-hmm. and I told you I could definitely see where the stress, that I was in high stress, the 2 flares that I've experienced, hopefully never again. I can look back and see that, but at the time, if I had a wearable device, that gave me another layer of information of like, hey, Jen, you are, whoa, what, right? That could be a game changer, because I wasn't aware of it on all levels, obviously. I just kept pushing.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be. And if we had a strong sense of our inner state, we wouldn't get into these troubles.
Yeah.
From evolutionary times, all our senses are directed outwards towards threats that came from the outside, animals, enemies. We needed to taste in case there was food that was bad or poisoned or with bacteria and so on. So we needed, all our threats came from the outside. And the level of activity was normal in the lifestyle. They hunted when they could and rested when they could. So there was never any need for a strong sense for our inner state. Actually, it would make it difficult if there was too much noise from our inner state. It would be difficult to hear a twig breaking somewhere from an animal and so on. So actually, a lot of our inner state has been less available to us to feel. Like all the noises in our body will be at the wavelength for our hearing that is below our range of hearing, so that it will not affect us when we are listening for trouble from the outside. So these watches, these pulse devices, are actually in reserve of these senses. And a lot of people say that after I have these devices, they have a better sense of their inner state than they used to have. Because a lot of people ask me, can't we just feel it? And no, we can't really. So because we can. It's like a vertigo. We are having such a high speed in our days that we lose the sense of speed actually. So we think we are relaxed, but we are not. So
I think you are so right about that. And as you're talking, Torkil, I mean, first of all, I love the back and forth of like ancestors and just what fight or flight meant then, or how connected they were to like their inner world versus like how we have so much outside noise that connection isn't there, or we've numbed it or whatever. That is all fascinating. And I had this thought just now in this moment, because a lot of times when I'm working with clients, I do make that correlation. I talk about what fight or flight used to be for, like when, to make sure that we didn't step on a deadly snake or something like that, but we still will act as if that's the case when we're actually a lot more safe, day to day. But then I just thought of it, Torkil, but the stories sometimes that we carry, right, in our minds are as if we're threatened. Right? We will carry like a whole belief system that puts our inner state in a panic that's not even true. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or am I like?
Yeah, and because we are our ancestors, we inherited a sense of fear. So we are always looking for what is dangerous, even though it's not really there. So we kind of make up something that will be scary in place of the things that are not dangerous anymore. So our minds are not so good at discerning what is really dangerous and what is a little bit dangerous. It kind of reacts in much of the same way. Yeah. Even if you get a bad comment on Facebook or on Instagram, or our bodies, our minds treats it like it's something really dangerous.
Yeah.
So for example, loneliness is also one of those things that our ancestors, they were never alone. So the only time when they were alone is when they were exposed to predators, all alone. So they were very scared. And we, as a human, still now, even if when we are alone, our mind will interpret it as we are in danger. This is why loneliness will cut your life short by like 10 or 15 years, because it's stressful for our system. Even though it's, of course, it's not really stressful for us to be alone. We have chosen it often ourselves and so on.
Yeah. We could have a whole podcast episode on just that, Torkil. I feel like we could really speak to loneliness and isolation. So maybe we have to have another one, if you're not too busy, because your book is spreading like wildfire. So this may...
Yeah, that has been this year now. It's been on the best-selling list in Norway for 50 weeks. So this year, I came from nowhere because this was my second book. My first book was kind of caught by the COVID epidemic, so it didn't sell so much. But this one really has been a hit. It's really changed my life. I've been probably on 50 podcasts the last year here in Norway. And because this is a new thing, we all know what is a healthy lifestyle, but what is so good about these devices is that they can actually track our lifestyle and help us on the way. It's easier to find the right lifestyle when you have these devices as guides for you.
Yeah.
And now the book is out and in the English-speaking world, in the UK and Australia and New Zealand and Ireland. And it would also be available, I'm sure, in the States, even though the release for the edition in the United States would be in April.
Okay.
But I'm sure it will be as an ebook, and also probably able to get it from the UK. I mean, it's in English, although it's an English publisher in the UK and an American publisher in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be exciting to see if it will also catch on and in the English-speaking world. So I think so, because in my opinion, this is really a revolution for preventative healthcare, that you are able to have a measurement of the state of your physiology literally in your hands or on your wrist. So because usually it's the doctor who has the answers. It's the doctors who know what state you're in, and you go there maybe every third month or every half year or whatever. But here you have the results yourself on your watch and on your iPhone or your smartphone, that you get the full results. Mm-hmm. So I think it has been helpful for so many people here in Norway, and I really hope it will spread to your country as well.
Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And I feel very privileged and fortunate to catch you at this time. And it does seem like, the wearable devices are a gentle guide, like you said. They're a gentle guide that we can use. And I feel like this is a good time to just take a moment, Torkil, and share how you came to this. How did you decide that you were going to write this book or follow this trailhead of discovering something preventative and informative?
Yeah, my interest in health actually didn't start when I studied medicine, or my real interest. It started actually when my father died, because he died 10 years ago. And before that, I didn't really care about my personal health, because we didn't think that there was so much to gain from having a healthy lifestyle. As a doctors, we thought maybe it was 2 or 3 years. And maybe if you wanted a nice healthy lifestyle, that would cost you 2-3 years just in training and caring about food and all these things. So we thought it wouldn't really matter so much. Mm-hmm. But after my father died, then I started to update myself on the latest research, and then I saw that there was so much more to gain. We were talking maybe 20 years, because I had done all the mistakes in my own book. I weighed 20 kilos more than I do today. Mm-hmm. I used to be smoking. I used to drink a couple of glasses of wine every day, because that was actually recommended, at least in Norway at the time. I did not care at all about what I was eating or when I was eating, and I did not exercise at all. So I realized when my father died that if I continue this lifestyle, I will also be like 73 years old that he was when he died. Mm-hmm. And I could see his sorrow for not watching his grandchildren grow up and missing out of many years of life. He died of a normal cancer that is related to our Western diet that all of us eat. So it's nothing special for him, but all of us eat this diet that hurts us. Mm-hmm. And creates inflammation. So then I started changing my life. I started losing weight. I started training. I started caring about what I was eating. I quit the alcohol more or less totally. And I lost 20 kilos. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I had the assistance, so to say, of the pulse watches in also getting more out of this balance. I could see that from the watches, I could see it's better to have to eat maybe from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock so that the intestines, our gastrointestinal system, will have more time outside our meals to repair, for example. And I could see that I needed more exercise to get more fit, so that your heart gets stronger, so that every day it has to work on it's easier for the body to work if you are fit. If you are really unfit, the body, your heart has to work in overdrive every day to make up for it. So now I actually feel a lot more healthy now, and usually at the lectures I show pictures of me from 12 years ago, and people don't know if they want to cry or laugh, So, wow. So I feel better, and then this is also what I want to teach other people, that you can change, you can. Even if it's hard, you really can change your lifestyle. But you have to be patient, and you have to take it step by step. And the Pulse Cure is actually a kind of a guidebook on how to do it, how to improve your sleep, how to regulate your stress in a better way, how to eat, how to exercise, and how to relate to nutrition and alcohol, and also things like menstruation, because the week before the women's period is actually a physiological hard. We can see that the physiological resources are less. So you have to take that into consideration on how much to train, or how much to work, or how much to stress yourself, particularly in that week. So what we have seen is that a lot of the stressors, they are unexpected. They are from altitude, for example, that if you go up into the mountains, it's a stressor. And people also get a lot of surprise when they see the extent of, for example, alcohol, on how hard, 2 or 3 drinks, how much taxing it is for your system. So you wake up the next day and you feel bad, but your body has really had a really rough night treating the alcohol. So we get a little bit, quite a lot wiser about the processes inside our body, listening to our heart in this way, actually.
Thank you for sharing all that. And it is profound how it took what you witnessed with losing your father, and you immediately made a decision, and like you're saying, took charge of your own health to try and increase your quality and your quantity of life. And amazing how you did it. Like you're saying, you not only, realized how important it was, but you also took charge, and like you said, took the baby steps, and clearly what a difference it's made. And everything you're saying is so true. I mean, it's, you think about just the detox that has to happen when we have something toxic like alcohol, or, certain foods, sugar. And so it's amazing that your book and your own journey, so you're walking the talk, which is so important for everybody to see, but then that you have created this guidebook to empower people to do the same thing and to listen to their bodies, using these wearable devices, using the tips that you give to calm the body, right? So in addition to exercise and rest and nutrition, there's also this calming, right, of stress and the vagus nerve and things like that, correct?
Yeah. To activate the vagus nerves, for example, by breathing exercises, meditation. Yeah. And cold. Actually, a big surprise was how effective cold is to regulate our stress. So where we would think cold is just something you don't like and want to be in, it's actually very calming. And at least in Norway, winter swimming is a very, very popular. I'm not sure how it is in the States, but actually now people are making holes in the ice in the lakes and dipping into the ice cold water. Because it challenges your physiology, but it also makes a relaxed state for many hours afterwards. So that is also one of the surprises I got. And one of the other surprises was also fasting. That fasting and not eating is actually relaxing for your body. And of course, it belongs to every religion. So every religion has some kind of fasting because it sharpens you in some way and it relaxes the system. I've had a lot of surprises using these measurements, and I didn't make these measurements to teach others. I did it solely. I didn't think of that. It was just a coincidence that my editor saw that I was using this system and asked me, "Is this a book for us?" It wasn't even my idea. So I thought, yes, it could be. It's a very strange thing to do because I was the only one doing it. I didn't know almost anyone else tracking these things. So everybody thought I was very weird, and now it's like a pulse wave all over Norway. So that has been really weird to go from only me doing it and to seeing it catching on for so many people. So
the ripple effect of your goodness. And it sounds like there's just, it feels like we could just talk forever on so many different points, because just even that, like the polar dips, it has become really big here. So I'm in the Northeast.
Polar dips. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Polar dips.
And I'm in a place that's called the North Shore. It's north of Boston, and so we have access to the Atlantic Ocean. And everyone talks about how they'll get together and they'll bring their robes and they go out in the winter and jump into the ocean. And I've been so intrigued by it. So I am going to definitely. Do you talk about that in your book as well? Do you kind of give advice about doing that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, on how to do it and cold showers also. Okay. To end your showers with like 2 minutes on the coldest that you can get in your shower. It's also it will also calm down your system. Not exactly when you're in there screaming, of the cold, but afterwards you will feel refreshed and you will see it on your watches if you use at least if you use the Garmin watches, and if you have Apple Watch you can use an app called Athletic also. Okay. So that's a motivating thing, that because these things are often hard. It's hard to fast. It's kind of hard to sleep more. It's hard to go into the cold shower or in the polar dip. But when you see the result on your watches, you get motivated because you can see that it makes you healthier and gives you more energy. So. Charges up your system,
and probably clarity as well, and yeah, amazing,
absolutely. So and what's interesting then is that this new technology points into the old ways. So it's kind of forward to the past. It's not back to the future, but it's forward to the past. So that whatever you do, that will be more similar to the surroundings of our ancestors, will also help our system. So that we are, if we fight our biology, then we lose. But if we live a bit more, we don't have to go all naked and hunting and so on. But if you can do something that is a bit more like the way they used to live for the millions of years, then that will be good for us. Because we were exposed to, now it's the comfort crisis. We want to be at a comfortable temperature day and night. So it doesn't really challenge our system and we get weaker for it. So just this exposure to heat and cold, this is actually good for us, like saunas and so on. Do you have saunas there as well?
We do. We probably, I mean, I've heard Finland. I wonder if Norway does too. You have like a lot of people have them, right? In like their backyards.
Yeah.
People do the cold dip and then go into the sauna, right?
Yes. They do. More and more, yeah.
We need to do it. So in addition to your book, you're going to have to start a wave where everybody gets some sort of cold dip and sauna in their yard. That's it, Torkil. Just add that to your mission. So many good things. So all of this is in your book, right? I'm guessing all of these details. Okay.
And I tried to make it as short and easily readable as possible. So I tried to extract from all the latest research in all these areas and make it as efficient and short and as short as possible with the most use of it as well, so to speak. So people say it's the fastest book they've read. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
So it will be, and the English publisher has done a really good job translating it from English, from Norwegian to English. So I'll be excited to see how it will be received also in your countries.
I'm going to predict that it's gonna spread like wildfire in the same way that it has in Europe, and I think. So in your book, you also guide people on like what wearable devices to get.
Yeah. So that of course changes almost by the day because there's so much, big industries. There's so much money put into this because they see the possibilities. But the Garmin watches are by far the best with their body battery system that they have bought from the Finnish company First Beat. So it's not the Garmin watches necessarily in itself, but it's that they have bought the algorithms of First Beat, the Finnish company that has been doing physiological research for like 25 years. So they have a system where you can see your stress level in the moment and throughout the day as a body battery. That is easy to understand. And also Apple Watch with this athletic app seems to be very good. And you also have an Oura ring, the Finnish company with an Oura ring, OURA. And you also have the American Whoop band, WHOOP, that has also their own system. So you don't need the watch that you can see all the time, like the Oura ring, and the Whoop band will give you readings in the morning on how the night was and so on, so that you don't have to be disturbed by looking at your watch all the time. So and there will probably be a lot of other smartwatches. So I think knowing your heart rate variability is kind of a speedometer of the intensity of your life or of your physiology. I think in the near future, this will be a household biomarker that you would know your HRV and you would know your partners or your kids or whatever, and you would know how your HRV is if you're on a party, and you would know how it is when you are really relaxed. So it will be one of the numbers that you will just like how many Facebook friends you have or how many like this post on Instagram. We are using all this all the time, so we are very used to this is kind of a gamification of yourself, so that you are kind of the hero in your own game, and it's your own life and health that is at stake in this game. So I think particularly the young people seems to really like this. So it's not just, it's not cold, boring science. It's actually quite fun to keep track of this and experiment and see how you're doing. Of course, it can be a problem for some people because you will find out that your physiology is very strained. You're under a lot of stress, and it may take a long time to get out of it. So actually, acceptance and patience is very important. That is also why in the book I call this an expedition, because changing your lifestyle is hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. Everyone would be in great health and live to be 90 and then go out running in the woods all the time. So changing your life is hard. So this is kind of an expedition to brace yourself for a struggle to get better. But with these guides, with these devices, and the Pulse-Cure book as a guide, it's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier.
It makes it easier
to change your life in the right direction.
Yeah, it breaks it down. And I love that twist on it, the gamification, like making it fun. And yes, you're going to need some self-acceptance and self-compassion as you realize and learn more about your body. And you're so right. It's almost like the way people are learning more about emotions, like emotional intelligence is increasing. This is like a whole other place of awareness and intelligence that we're starting to move in. And your book is the cutting edge of helping people do that. That's so great. That's good. Thank you for sharing it. I'm so glad your editor said something. And
it was just an accident. It was really just a coincidence. I was putting out a picture of Facebook of it, and she was on Facebook on that day and just asked, "Is this something for us? Is this interesting for us?"
Wow.
So if she hadn't been on Facebook that day and I hadn't put out this picture, nothing would have happened.
Love it. No coincidence. No coincidence. It was meant to be spread, and we're so grateful. And I actually don't have a wearable device, but this has inspired me to get the wearable device and use it in conjunction with your book and
your polar dip.
Exactly. I'm adding that too. I'll have to tell you all about it. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to meet with you in the pre-interview and then to have you here. And again, I truly mean it when I say that I feel really fortunate that another coincidence or synchronicity where you found me and I can be part of sharing this, because I think this is huge, Torkil. This is big stuff.
I hope so. I cross my fingers. I cross my fingers. Yeah. So thank you so much for letting me talk to your listeners on your show. Really, really grateful for it.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure that we get that link from you so that I can include it in everything for the UK edition. And then hopefully in April, we can add the US. Two things. If you could say your name in Norwegian, because it's such a beautiful language.
Yeah, Torkil Færø. Torkil Færø would be my name. And if I'm in the US, I would say Torkil Færø. So I need to Englify it, American
I know, we struggle. More, so. Like, it's not the way our mouth moves. We struggle. But it's such a song-like language. It's beautiful. And the second thing is there any other way that people can contact you or learn more about the Pulse?
Yeah, I have a Instagram site page. It's called the Pulse-Cure. Easy enough. The Pulse-Cure, where I will share advice and what I'm doing. I'm also until now, at least, I'm on Dr. Torkil, Doctor, and then Torkil. It's a Norwegian Instagram account now. I will see if I make it in English. This is more personal. I share a lot of things what I do every day, and I may do that. I will see how I will do it with the Instagram, because it's I haven't decided yet what to do. Okay. But at least it's the Pulse-Cure. Yeah.
The Pulse-Cure.
And we have the Pulse-Cure. We also have the pulsecure.com. Okay. That is a social network. Where you can learn more. It's like it seems like Facebook. It's a lot like Facebook, with workshops and webinars and so on. Amazing. So it's a site where you can learn everything you need to and get help from others, because there's not enough that one person helps a lot of people. A lot of people have to help a lot of other people. So so this is a social site that we launched now in January. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, this is good stuff. Well, I'll include all those links, and I will also start following you and stay in connection and tag you on all the publishing of this podcast so we can just start telling lots of people so they can tell lots of people and spread it. So thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Torkil.
If you'd like to be a participant on Illuminating the Stories That Bind Us, please fill out the form on jenniferhcarey.com. Jennifer would like to thank every single person that makes this possible, including all of the listeners. Because of you listening and sharing these stories, we may illuminate them and unbind the participants stuck in them. And to the participants, your courage and bravery makes this possible. Thank you. A million thank yous to Cassie Brooks Bowling and her team in making this mission come alive and keep it breathing. You can follow Jen at Jennifer H. Carey on Instagram and on Facebook at Jennifer H. Carey Counseling.